apologies in advance if my voice sounds a little bit off because I'm getting over a sickness at the moment. But yeah, that's not going to stop me from talking about two terrible movies I had to watch. Now, before we start, I want to give a shout out to my friend Mike. He's the reason that I even found out this movie exists, because I remember in 2016, a very long time ago, he told me that one of his friends also watches a lot of bad movies, and he told him about this movie, Bad Johnson, and in turn, Mike then told me about it. So, yeah, it's because of Mike that I know this movie exists. And then I remember, I think later that same day, we then looked up the trailer, and I still couldn't believe it was real back then, so jump forward a good 10 years later, and now I'm finally getting around to watching the movie itself. After yet another relationship ends badly, serial womanizer Rich Johnson awakes one morning to find that his penis has detached from his body and taken human form. So Bad Johnson follows a guy named Rich Johnson. I don't think they even really say his last name in the movie, but that's what it said on the Google description. So he's this guy, he gets into various relationships, but of course he can't hold down a girlfriend simply because his dick gets in the way. He constantly ends up cheating on his girlfriends, he ends up falling out with them, and whenever his best friend, played by a guy who kinda sorta looks like Seth Green, tells him like, hey man, you gotta stop doing that, you know, you eventually gotta find the right woman, you gotta settle down. And then he just keeps saying, hey, it's not my fault.
This is the third relationship you've ruined in the last year.
My dick. The third relationship my dick has ruined.
So right then and there, you know exactly what the movie's message is going to be. It's about taking responsibility. It's the classic message of, you know, you can keep blaming the equipment all you want. After a while, you just got to realize you're not using it right. So Rich gets so sick of his dick constantly interfering and ruining any kind of relationships he might have.
I wish my dick would just leave me alone.
And then that's when we get the liar liar scene where you see, you know, outside at night, and then the night then fades to the next morning, and somehow or other, we don't really need an explanation because I really don't want an explanation in this movie's case, but all you need to know is the wish came true. He wakes up the next day, looks down his underwear, and his dick is just gone. And then he ends up getting a phone call from somebody who claims to be his dick, and at first he doesn't believe it, but then it turns out that he knows pretty much everything about Rich, so it has to be true, right? So he ends up driving downtown and picking up a guy who's naked and reaffirms that he is apparently his dick grown into human form.
Hi. I'm your dick.
So early on, Rich and his best friend try to do whatever they can to get the dick back onto him, but nothing is working. They try a bunch of seances, they try a bunch of different methods, nothing works. So then they just decide, all right, we're just gonna have to live with this. So the dick basically becomes his roommate for a little bit, and he's just a slacker douchebag who doesn't work, constantly eats his food, spends all of his day smoking pot and playing video games with his best friend.
Oh, hey man, we'll pick all this up.
When? It looks like a freshman dorm in here, guys.
After we're finished smoking this marijuana cigar.
All the while, Rich has to continue living his life day to day without a penis. They don't go into too graphic a detail. I mean, this movie only has one scene where you see a woman's tits, so there's not a whole lot of nudity, but you could tell that just based on the premise, this is not a PG-13. I mean, considering the amount of times they say fuck throughout the movie, I think that's pretty apparent that we're dealing with a rated R comedy here. But there is one scene where he explains that apparently he has to now piss out of his ass because he doesn't have a penis to use.
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the toilet seat down.
Why? You pissing out of your ass?
But as the movie goes on, Rich, along with his best friend, works at a gym as a personal trainer. So he ends up training this woman to get into shape because she wants to lose a couple pounds for her sister's wedding coming up. She becomes the main love interest for the movie, even though there's this other girl who I thought was going to be the main love interest, but right away they do away with her. The only thing you really get with that is he writes her a letter at one point saying that he's sorry that he screwed everything up, and what she's doing now is having sex with a bunch of male bimbos to try and get back at him.
I'm looking all over in your purse and I can't find your money.
It's in my wallet.
Girls have wallets too. You're blowing my fucking mind right now.
That's really the end of that. I mean, I could see what they were trying to do. It's supposed to show that he's slowly learning responsibility and he's owning up to his actions and trying to make up for them.
See you. I booked our favorite spot at the
So if there's anything to praise this movie for, it at least flows like a movie. It's not something like Reverend I'm Available where you're fairly convinced the whole thing is just a bunch of people got a video camera together and we're like, hey, let's make a movie. Yeah, we'll put it on at church when it's finished and we'll all get together and laugh. It'll be really funny. And then we'll take the movie, put it into a time capsule, bury it, and never watch it ever again. So in comparison to something like that, at least Bad Johnson kind of looks like a real movie. So Rich ends up falling in love with this girl, but I guess the more in love he falls with this girl, the more the Dick loses his power. Because while the Dick is going out and trying to have sex with as many women as possible...
Okay, you ordered a hooker?
Oh no, she's an escort.
And if he's not doing that, he's doing Dick things like trying to coax his best friend into cheating on his wife, which he doesn't.
I can't.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
You're still gonna give me my 300, right?
Or he's doing things like calling up the number on a lost puppy flyer to lie about finding the puppy and then reveal that he didn't and hang up and laugh like an evil dick.
Hey, I was just calling to say that I just found your dog Rusty.
Are you serious? Thank heavens, baby! They found Rusty! They got Rusty! Woo! Oh my God, he's here! Oh my God.
I'm just fucking with you guys. I don't know where the hell your dog is.
And stuff like that happens in the third act of the movie. It's like they're really trying to hammer home that the guy is a dick. And it's like, we know. That's what the whole movie's about. We get it. He's not just a dick literally. He's also a dick metaphorically. We know. And there's also a part where he says this to a little girl.
You're gonna be hot when you get older. Please remember me.
I was just thinking to myself, why does the guy playing the dick kind of look like Shane Dawson? Because he kind of does. It's like his haircut, his hair color, his eyes, his eyebrows, like his kind of facial structure. And then after he says that, I'm like, okay, now he definitely reminds me of Shane Dawson. So as we get closer to the third act of the movie, it seems like Rich has to pull away from the girlfriend because he doesn't have a dick, and he doesn't know how to tell her this because it's the third act falling out, so he just pulls away and tries to make it seem like it's because he has commitment issues. All the while, the Dick decides to swoop in and take the girlfriend away from him.
I know how to come over and say hi to you. I'm sorry.
Oh, you lied because you were nervous. I do love an honest liar.
Oh, wow. If you let me take you out to dinner, I'd lie to you all night.
Rich ends up showing up at their date and tries to break them up, but that's when he ends up getting his pants pulled down in front of everybody, and it's revealed that he doesn't have a dick, which is like the only time in the movie where they show that he's built like a Ken doll down there.
Want to stay away from this guy. He's...
Oh, shit! Oh my God!
That just reminded me of when they did it in Dogma, and they did it way better there. So the girlfriend asks the Dick to be her +1 at her sister's wedding. So that's when Rich and his best friend decide they're going to have to crash the wedding and try and get the Dick away from the girlfriend. So what they do is they, just like the Dick earlier with the best friend, tried setting up this like sexy Indian stripper woman to try and cheat on his wife with her. They decide to set up a whole thing where they have the best friend's wife.
What the hell is this?
Lindsay? Rich?
I guess you do know me.
This isn't what it looks like.
If it looks like he was all over me trying to get me to blow him, then yeah, it is what it looks like.
Please don't say that again.
I'm sorry, you're the one who made me do this.
And then what happens is the Dick decides to kidnap the girlfriend, and they're just running through the streets with the girlfriend over his shoulder, and nobody does anything about it. Even when they run into a fancy hotel, I guess the people working at the hotel are just like, oh, it's just some kind of role play. At least that's what he said. We're just going to believe that.
We're just role playing. There's no need to be alarmed.
Anyone see a girl being kidnapped?
This part of the role playing too?
Rich ends up following them onto the roof of the building. He just somehow happens to know they're on the roof because it's a fucking movie. I don't know. They end up on the roof. They have this big fight scene, and Rich defeats the Dick by taking a bunch of Viagra, which then makes the Dick just go completely stiff and immobile, and then he's hauled off on a stretcher later. When Rich finally confesses everything to the girlfriend, and he finally owns up for all of his mistakes, and he promises he'll be a better man, that's when everything goes back to normal.
I know that I'm not all there, so to speak, but...
Oh, hey, I want to make it work too.
Yeah?
Oh my God! What?
crotch.
So as a movie itself, I didn't really laugh a whole lot. I mean, the premise is very bizarre. It's original, I'll give it that. But movies like this certainly prove that just because it's original doesn't always mean it's good. In terms of production, the movie just kept reminding me of stuff like FML. Like, both of these movies, Kitty Mamas especially, but we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to that one. But both these movies just kind of look like YouTube skits that were dragged out to an hour and a half. I felt the exact same way about FML. And while FML is a little bit more annoying because that definitely was a vanity project, the guy who made that was just cashing in on the fact that he was friends with YouTubers like Brandon Calvillo. This movie, on the other hand, it feels like it's from a bygone era. It feels like one of those dumb screwball comedies that went straight to video and was just kind of coasting by on the fact that the premise was just so wacky and outlandish that'll totally make you want to watch it. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of movies like that, and just like a lot of those movies, the only interesting thing about it is the premise. I mean, how many times can you say you've seen a movie where a guy's dick grows into a separate person? Before this, I couldn't have ever said that, but after watching it, I never want to see a movie like this ever again. Unless you're extremely desperate and you have literally nothing else to watch, I don't think in good consciousness I could recommend this movie. That being said, as Bad Johnson was, it was still way better than Kitty Mamas. A disgraced fertility doctor embarks on a breakthrough clinical trial in which 4 women will give birth to kittens. And the thing that absolutely terrifies me is the fact that this has a 4.3 out of 10 on IMDb, which is somehow lower than Bad Johnson, which had 4.5 out of 10 on IMDb. So Kitty Mamas came out in 2020. I believe it's a Canadian movie because the main guy in it is a part of a Canadian show called Kim's Convenience about an Asian family that owns a convenience store. He plays essentially the main character. He's this doctor who, specifically, he's a fertility doctor. And what he ends up doing is he creates this serum that gives women the ability to give birth to cats.
4 will be participating in a 3-month medical trial during which time you will be impregnated with a cat fetus and carry it to term.
Yeah, but why though? Why are we doing this? Why does he want to do that? Why does he want to make a serum that can give women the ability to give birth to cats? It reminded me of Tammy and the T-Rex, when the bad guy in that builds a robot dinosaur, but instead of building it to be like programmable or like remote controlled or something like that, instead he wants it to be operated by a human brain. And so that's what gets the whole plot of the movie going, and you're just like, but why? Why does he want a human brain? And it's the same thing here. Why? Why does he want to make a serum that gives women this ability? Before I realized this movie was Canadian, I was so certain it was going to be a movie by Donald Farmer. I mean, it really was giving me that Shark Exorcist vibe of like, all right, there's some weird fetishy shit going on here, but to my utter shock, it wasn't. The entire movie is done in a mockumentary style, similar to like Christopher Guest movies like Spinal Tap and Waiting for Guffman and Best in Show and movies like that, or like The Office. It's done like it's supposed to be real, and then you have like little mockumentary interview segments with the characters where they're talking to the camera. I would have expected it to be more like Bad Johnson, where it was just a straightforward movie, but the fact that it's done up in this style was just even more confusing. I guess they thought that the more mundane aspect of a mockumentary, where you're just kind of like a Christopher Guest movie where you have just a bunch of really boring everyday people who have certain quirks and eccentricities, maybe they thought that that would be a funny contrast to how weird the premise is, but it just doesn't work at all. If anything, it just makes the movie a lot more boring. There's just a lot of scenes of people standing around talking in what feels like painful ad-lib.
Wait, Mom, you know I prefer it when you call me Joan.
Yes, I do know that, but your father and I called you Joan Jett so that we could call you Jet. Joan is just to please his mother. And you know I prefer when you call me Sunshine.
It's pretty much just a series of subplots. You're following all these different people and all their different reasons for why they're partaking in the experiment. Like, you have this one nurse lady who pops up here and there throughout the thing, but she's kind of like the Jim Halpert character. She's supposed to just sort of be the normal one, and every once in a while she'll look at the camera and be like, well, that's stupid, am I right?
One word, money. I don't give a shit about cat gestation.
As for the 4 women that are partaking in the experiment, you have one woman who's doing it mostly for the money because she wants to have enough money to go to law school because her mom won't pay for law school because her mom is this hippie woman that wants her to become an artist for a profession. Much like all these other subplots, you know exactly where it's going to go. Even as weird as the movie is, you know where it's going. So, you know by the end of the movie, they're going to have a big argument where she finally snaps and says, I don't want to be an artist, I want to go to law school. And then finally the mom accepts that her daughter wants to do something different with her life and doesn't seem at all fazed by the fact that she gives birth to kittens.
I can't believe you did all this for money for law school.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it was at first, but I really believe in what Dr. Han is doing.
You have this other woman who's the oldest of the 4, and her whole thing is that she already has 2 kids, but she wants to give her family a pet cat. Instead of simply going to buy a cat, instead she decides to give birth to it. And she also wants to prove her husband wrong because her husband is this like kind of yuppie, wormy, stay-at-home dad type guy. He's the kind of dad who brags about doing the dishes while his wife has the real job.
I share parenting and housekeeping responsibilities with my wife. And I know a lot of guys would, complain about that kind of thing. But for me, it's something that
He keeps saying that he's allergic to cats, but the wife knows for a fact that he isn't. So she wants to give birth to the cat, not just to give the family a pet cat they've always wanted, but she also wants to prove him wrong. And then eventually when the truth comes out, because they've all been told to keep it from their friends and family and loved ones, but eventually when the news comes out about it, they get angry at each other, but then she's the first one to give birth, and of course the husband is the first one there, and he realizes that he was wrong, and he admits that he doesn't have a cat allergy like he thought he did.
What do you want to do, Tom? We'll hire a cleaner.
Then you have this one couple, it's 2 women, they're lesbian, and they say that the one woman's mom is super religious. So I was thinking, okay, so are they going to have a thing where she disapproves of her marrying another woman? But no, her parents seem pretty accepting of that.
Hi, Mark, Gabby.
Hi, Jennifer.
I don't know if that's like a Canadian thing, like maybe their conservative Christians are different compared to American conservative Christians, but they seem perfectly fine with their daughter getting married to another woman, but they draw the line at they want them to have kids. So they keep trying to push like, oh yeah, we know this young guy, he'll happily be a donor so that way you can have kids, but they don't want to have kids. So that's why the one woman is partaking in it. She wants to give birth to a cat so that she could say she gave birth and they can have a cat instead of having a kid.
I love cats. I don't particularly like kids, and science is cool.
There's this one woman who, she even carries around a card that says like professional cat lady, and she's the vlogger. She's the social media influencer, and her whole thing is she has like a YouTube channel, I guess, and an Instagram, and just she has a social media specifically built around loving cats. And she wants to give birth to a cat because she loves cats so much, and she says that she's going to pretend that her pet cat is the father of the kitten she gives birth to.
5-year-old Maine Coon, who I rescued when he was 6 months old, and we've been inseparable ever since. He's my soulmate. Aren't you?
That is one of the few jokes in the movie. There's a scene where after a couple weeks of taking the serum and having kittens in their wombs, the women start embracing cat-like behavior. Like they start wanting to eat fish and drink milk and rub up against things and hiss.
Are you marking me?
Because I don't know how long I can pretend that I'm just stretching my leg out every time I attempt a butt licking.
Bad kitty.
I have to use the bathroom.
Something wrong, Maria?
I just felt a sudden urge to find a sandbox.
So if you thought it was really hilarious to see Halle Berry do it in Catwoman, then I guess this movie's for you. I will say this, the one thing that amused me about this movie was whenever they reference stuff from the internet, because you just know whoever wrote this was incredibly out of touch and late to the party.
Yeah, haven't you ever heard of Gamergate?
And if you're not following these people, You're also following the people who work at the clinic. You're following the fertility doctor guy. Along with him, you have the nurse lady from earlier, and there's this stoner kid who's in like 3 scenes. But the main crux of his subplot is there's this woman who ends up joining him with this experiment, and they have a history together, but they were told not to be around each other because of her controlling husband. But she got divorced from her husband, who is super jealous, and he's a journalist, and he's the one that ends up blowing the lid off of the experiment, which comes to play in the 3rd act. That's when like all the secrecy is finally revealed, and you know, people in their family are like, "You're giving birth to a cat? What's up with that, man?"
And you came home with a baby cat that you gave birth to?
I was just waiting for the right time.
Oh.
The funding for the experiment is going to go down, so they're going to have to raise the money, and they're going to raise the money by live streaming the births.
I'm gonna live stream the birth!
You mean let's broadcast our vaginas to the entire internet?
Pass.
No. We're gonna film from a non-vajayjay angle.
Oh, good.
God, I hate describing this movie so fucking much, dude. They end up giving birth to cats. Everyone's happy. The asshole ex-husband journalist guy ends up getting arrested because he keeps trespassing in their clinic. I guess the whole internet is happy. They do this like the Mean One style thing where it shows that like it takes the internet by storm, and there's a bunch of people who are singing their praises for the experiment going well.
Holy shit! She actually did it! She's still crazy, but at least she's legit.
Rose, I'm sorry for the hate. You do you, girl.
I'm gonna donate to your shelter fund right now because I really want to help rescue all those kitties.
Which is how you know this is a movie, because in real life, everyone would be watching this and going, what the fuck is this Josef Mengele experimentation bullshit? Like I said earlier, this movie was mostly just boring. I mean, even the weird premise isn't enough to make it interesting. I mean, maybe if you like cats to a very disturbing degree, maybe you'll like this movie. Bad Johnson, it's like, okay, that's a dumb premise, but it's the kind of dumb premise for a dumb boner comedy. It's like, I can see, you know, a bunch of frat boys getting together and being like, oh, that's so fucking funny, bro. In this movie, I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know who the target demographic is. Cat ladies, I guess? I don't know. That's my best guess. I mean, out of the two, they both look like stupid YouTube skits that were elongated to an hour and a half each. But I don't know. At least Bad Johnson flowed more like a real movie. I mean, they at least took the effort to write it, versus Kitty Mama's, a lot of it just felt like bad ad-lib. It felt like a COVID movie. It felt like one of those movies where it was like a bunch of people had enough free time in the world, so they were just like, hey, you know what, let's just hang out in our apartments and film something, and then, you know, eventually when we're allowed to interact with each other again, we'll throw together some kind of like main plot that connects all the stories together. I don't recommend either. I was more pissed off at FML, if you remember my review of that, but don't watch either of these. There's just, even if there's literally nothing else to watch, just pull out one that you already know is going to be a good movie, and you're like, all right, let's not waste our time watching bullshit. So anyways, what we're going to be doing next time on Blockbuster Show is, I originally planned to talk about 6 movies for a movie marathon, but between trying to get better from sickness and just the fact that I wasn't able to finish some of the movies because I didn't think they were very good and felt like there wasn't a whole lot to say about them, instead of 6 movies, we're going to be talking about 3 movies, so yeah, look forward to that next time. But until then, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
And I'm going to strongly suggest that you, sir, get out of here. Thank you so much.
Oh, and before I forget, I will say this. As bad as both these movies were, they were still better than 50 Shades of Black.